Sick.
Today I leave Athens and headed to a small northern town called Kalambaka to see Meteora. I headed to Lalisa station to catch the train to Kalambaka. Something bad happened to me before I got on the train. Since I didn't catch the moment in any photo or video, I ended up asking ChatGPT to recreate the scene for me. I was coming up from the Lalisa metro station, heading toward the train station. I had a copy in my left hand and was pulling my suitcase with my right. Then someone came up from behind and suddenly lifted my suitcase. I gripped the handle tightly, not wanting to let go, but my left hand was occupied with the coffee, so I couldn't react freely. In that brief, distracted moment, another pickpocket, who was probably part of the same team, came up behind me, opened my crossbody bag, and stole my reading glasses. There was a plastic bag in the crossbody bag that might have slowed them down. They only took my glasses, which was sitting on top, and left my GoPro underneath untouched. Should I feel lucky they only got my glasses? I had already been pickpocketed once at the beginning of my trip in Milan, so going through it again here felt especially frustrating. What I hated the most though was that for a brief second, I actually believed someone was just trying to help. That moment of naive trust made me angrier at myself than anyone else. Pickpockets don't just steal your belongings. They ruin your trip and leave you blaming yourself, and that's what makes them feel so much more cruel. I try to pull myself together, telling myself I wouldn't let the rest of my trip be ruined by this.
Για την αποβίβασή σας πιέστε το πράσινο κουτόν εφόσον σταθμεύσει τελείως η αμαξοστοιχεία. Επόμενος σταθμός Λιβαδιά. Αποβίβαση από
With a mix of regret for not being more careful and excitement about heading somewhere new, the train kept going for about 5 hours before finally arriving in Kalambaka. Kalambaka is a further north than Athens, so I figured it would probably be colder. The Airbnb I booked said it had floor heating, and honestly, that's what sold me on it. I was planning to properly explore Meteora starting tomorrow, but since there was still some time before sunset, it felt like a waste to spend the whole first day at the Airbnb. So I decided to check out one of the monasteries the host recommended. It was the one closest to the place. Meteora, often called the monasteries in the sky, was originally built on the cliffs by monks seeking refuge from the Ottoman invasion. And while they had climbed those heights to escape persecution, I found myself climbing with a heart full of excitement. The more I walked, the more I looked forward to see what was ahead. Especially since the monastery I was heading to had even been featured in an old James Bond movie. I couldn't help but pick up the pace. Just like the host said, it wasn't actually that far from my Airbnb. But since it was all up here and I kept stopping to film along the way, by the time I got there, it was already past closing time. I couldn't go in, which was a bit disappointing. But I told myself I would just come back tomorrow and try to shake it off. Instead, I launched my drone to make the most of the moment. Technically, it was no different from flying a drone on flat ground. But since I was already at a high elevation, I couldn't help but feel nervous every time it went a little higher. Still, even though I felt uneasy, the footage the drone captured was breathtaking. Peaceful and stunning views I had never seen before. I got back to town before it got too late. Since it's the off-season and I figured a lot of restaurants would be closed. I asked my Airbnb host earlier for a good place to have dinner. Even though it's a tourist spot, it seemed like a lot of locals lived here too. So there were more restaurants open than I expected. The streets were quiet, but inside, the restaurant quickly filled up with people. Athens already felt cheap enough, but dinner here was even cheaper. Maybe it was the cheap food high, maybe the alcohol. Or maybe being back on flat ground gave me a little more courage. For the first time, I tried flying my drone at night.